They say that time heals all wounds. But a year after losing their 14-year-old daughter, Darren, to suicide, the pain is still sharp for Luke and Stephanie Richardson. In the years since her death, the Richardsons, along with their daughter Morgan, have made it their mission to raise awareness and remove the stigma connected with suicide through the Do It for Darren Fund. And while that gives them purpose, it doesn't dull the pain of what they lost.
Our 17-year-old Morgan is so busy, and a 17-year-old's life moves so quick with college coming up next year, and that way there's been so much happening a year in her life. So it frames that year. But no, I wake up and I still think, oh, I have to make the girls breakfast, or I wait for Darren to walk in the door, or I wait for her to text me. And it feels like yesterday.
I know you've had to deal with a lot of firsts this year. First Christmas without Darren, first birthday with her not here, leading up to the first anniversary. Is it sort of a milestone, though, that you feel is important in your journey towards the healing process?
As we get close, I've felt it, and I'm not so sure I'm really looking forward to it, but I would like to, obviously we want to acknowledge it for ourselves, because most of the help that we've gotten with the therapists and the doctors is said the only way through anything like this is to go right through it. And it'll be painful, but I guess, I've heard many times, like you said, time does heal. At certain times it doesn't feel like it, but I think after then the day's over, you realize that it does. And hopefully we'll have more memories than sad ones as we go through this tough time.
How supportive have Darren's friends, I'm sure they're still very much involved in your world, what impact have they had in your lives?
It's overwhelming. It is overwhelming. It's to see them all so afraid and so shocked. It was heartbreaking, and I think it's what drove us. Morgan's world was just shattered. We were all, the grief, the despair, the shock, there's no words for it. And to see the other kids were feeling the same way, even kids on the peripheral. The world all of a sudden became very, very scary. And as soon as we opened up to them for that grief and to share that together, they just embraced it, and they continue to embrace us.
Really, the whole concept of Do It for Darren, DIFD, that has really grown huge. It came from the children and the kids, like Steph said, and they're the ones that they came up with it. They're the driving force of it. As adults, and we just maybe gave it a little bit of direction. Just getting the proper clinical advice from the hospitals and everything, and the psychiatrists. But I think that's what we want to just make sure that it doesn't just die off.
Yeah, it was, a group of the kids came up with it right at the beginning. It was their way of coping. They asked if we minded if they made helmet stickers. And we said, of course we didn't mind. They were very worried about upsetting us. And life has upset us. The kids have not. And I think with us being public and our friends being so public, it let everybody know, no, we all need to have these conversations. Just because your child is high achieving, or just because your child has a lot of friends, or just because your child seems happy, you still need to ask, are you okay? If you're feeling funny, if you're feeling sad, we can talk about that. And that's what DIFD does. It has really brought it mainstream. It has made it okay to talk about it. The kids, they want to wear the purple. They want to do that. They want to touch everybody else's life. And I think it's made everybody a little bit kinder. And I remember asking, how could this happen? I didn't understand how this could happen to an amazing young girl. She was just so incredible. She was the funniest person in our house. She was the happiest person in our house. How does that happen? And they said it happens. And nobody would have ever asked someone like Darren if she was okay. And she would have never said. So we need to change that.
When you look to the future now, what do you see?
You know what, I think we've put all our energy into Morgan. Obviously not to forget about Darren, it's just to, Morgan is lost. We've talked about more than we've lost. We've lost our daughter, she's lost her sister and her best friend, so there'll be lots of tough times, I'm sure. But as time goes on, hopefully, it eases.
I find the future, it's to focus on all the great things. So when Morgan chose her college for next year, it was just so full of joy, and we were so proud of her, and I could see it in her eyes because there's just a little something missing. So she didn't get to share it with Darren. And it's hard because the future is, you look forward to doing all the great things our family does, but there's a sense of loss of all the things you won't get to do. And I'm sure it's with every parent that's lost a child, and that's where you feel really ripped off. So the future gets tough. It's a lot easier. I think that's why people tell you focus on the day. Every day, enjoy the day. And because the grief gets in the way of looking forward.
Yeah, it's tough. The things that, sometimes I feel like I'm being selfish that I'm gonna miss, I try and change that, and it's really sad, but it's what Darren's gonna miss. She would have loved high school. Well, she did, but 4 years of high school, she would have been the queen of high school. We knew that. Like, she would have been running that place, and I'm sure they would have been, a little bit annoyed with her at times, but good and bad. That's just the way she was. She was a big personality, and she would have loved it. So that's a tough one. Like, when we still visit the high school, obviously Morgan still attends there, and we love to see her girlfriends and her friends there and everything, but it's tough because and you see it in their friends' faces. They love us and they embrace us and they give us a big hug, and it's great to see us, but you can kind of see a little bit in them too. They're missing Darren when they see us, just like when we see them, we see Darren with them. So she's always with us and always will be. Like, that's the way it should be, and it's the way it is.
To date, through the Royal Ottawa Mental Health Centre, DIFD has raised over $1 million, hosted suicide prevention sessions, and worked with the school board to develop a mental health curriculum. But most importantly, it's prompted discussions and saved lives. And that is the legacy of Darren Richardson. For more, visit doitfordarren.com.